New Zealand Rugby and New Zealand sports organisations love a review. So halfway through All Blacks season, Martin Devlin is doing the same and is playing the ball column. Martin, what's the verdict?
B minus, and I think I'm being probably a little bit nice. I'll explain why in a second. But look, New Zealand Rugby are the world champions at doing reviews, and so I'm amazed that they haven't called for one now. I mean, if they're going to do one now, it'd be a great time to do it because it's kind of like the halfway point of the season, isn't it? So the All Blacks have played 9 tests so far, won 5, lost 4, and a B minus. Even though we're on an upward trend, you could say, beating Argentina, playing pretty well, 2 wins against Australia to finish with. But, there's still so many questions to be asked and so many obvious areas of concern. And I've actually, over the last week or so on the program, on the radio, had a lot of people on. I actually dished out the top mark, B minus. A lot of people are saying C's, C plus. No one's going any higher than that. And the interesting thing, or the fascinating thing that I found, was having Justin Marshall on the program. He was barely able to give it a C minus. And because being an ex-player, an ex-All Black, being part of these teams that have established this incredible history, and when you haven't lost to a team for 100 years and then you lose, or you haven't lost a series at home for 100 years, then you lose, those kind of things you can never buy back, you never get back, and they destroy part of the aura and myth of this. I hate the word, but the brand that is the All Blacks. And so I can understand why people would even aim a bit lower than my B minus.
So what's broadly your reasons for optimism then, I suppose? Not that B minus is a great result, obviously, but...
Well, it's not. I mean, I would say that, pupil leans towards mediocrity, has potential, needs to show a lot more consistency. And second half of the year is the chance to prove that. Because this is the thing with the All Blacks, if we are going to do a performance review, and every business does a performance review, you've got to sit down with your boss and actually walk your way through it. We've got tests at the end of the year, really big tests coming up against Wales, Scotland and England, all over there in the UK. I think that it's a B minus simply because, the Northern Hemisphere are probably watching that rugby championship, looking at all 4 of our teams, South Africa, Argentina, us and Australia. And I don't know whether they'd be quaking in fear. The way that we're playing our rugby at the moment, all 4 of us, we're loose. We all concede a lot of points. I don't know whether it's World Cup winning test match rugby. So, but at the same time, that was a great scoreline at Eden Park, 40-14, I think it was, if I remember correctly, against the Wallabies. And, we played really well against Argentina the second time out. There are a couple of moments, isn't there? It's like anything. Pupil has handed in 2 assignments. One of them was in Joburg, one of them was in Melbourne. And both of those assignments were handed in just as the door shut in the teacher's office there. Lucky that we actually got away with both of those because they could have easily been losses. And I think if they were losses, then we'd be having a completely different conversation around this right now, Hamish. We'd be looking at probably a brand new management, brand new coach, and maybe even some of the executives, the fish heads at NZR, falling on their swords too.
What do you think, or how do you think Silver Lake's feeling at the moment? Obviously, a big part of what they've bought into is the All Blacks itself, isn't it, rather than the
well, I don't think they've bought into anything else, Hamish. I don't think Silver Lake have not bought into club rugby, women's rugby, NPC rugby, first 15 rugby, anything. The only thing they've got to sell overseas is the All Blacks. They don't have anything. New Zealand rugby can't sell any of its other products. So, as far as Silver Lake's concerned, what they want is they are buying a winning, dominant team. Without being that, even they don't have that much to sell. So, their whole investment is absolutely dependent on the All Blacks being the All Blacks. And this year, I think that's why I've given them a B minus. We've shown glimpses of maybe being the All Blacks, but too many times that were very underwhelming. And that's the truth.
Man United's been able to sell sponsorships and commercial deals for the 10 years that they've been terrible, so maybe the Silver Lake will get away with the same.
Yeah, but I mean, look at what, that led into that. 13 titles in 21 years, the most dominant English team since the Premier League started, a worldwide brand that is seriously established in so many different countries. Having success over a long period of time is what's embedded there. The last 10 years, again, seriously, I mean, I don't know what the figures are, but I'd say that there'd be a lot of other football clubs earning a hell of a lot more money in terms of sponsors and investment. Man United is still a big brand, but if this continues for another 10 years, the implications are going to be financial, just like they are with the All Blacks. If the All Blacks don't win the Rugby World Cup next year, that's 2015. So you're talking about 2027. You're talking about 12 years before we get another chance at it again, and that's a really hard sell. If you've got a team that you're, flouting all around the world as being this, amazing brand, this, historic team, and they aren't winning, it just dilutes your product a little bit, probably a lot, as a matter of fact.
Martin, thanks very much for your time.
B minus.